I'm beginning to hate TikTok almost as much as some of y'all's husbands hate you. So there's been a trend going on TikTok recently, and it's kind of a trend within a trend. It's a trend of basically a bunch of women asking their husbands to pack lunch for them and seeing what they pack. Now I say that this is a trend that's a spin-off of another trend because it kind of fits neatly into the weaponized incompetence niche, which was basically a trend where women posted their husbands not helping them around the house, not helping them with the kids, and overall just kind of being not very good partners for them, and then doubling down in defense of their husband in a couple weeks when everyone tells them that, hey, your husband might hate you. That's kind of the life cycle we're on right now. And of course, this blew up and landed on my FYP, and it blew up specifically because of this lady.
I forgot my lunch today, and I asked my husband to bring me lunch. We have a bag of we have a bag of pretzels. We got an apple. Another bag of cookies. My 2-day-old Chipotle. We have a bag of dog food because you're my dog. There's 2. Please bring back the dogs are low on food.
Now, the biggest response that people were giving to this video was mostly people saying that, hey, your husband hates you and this is like super disrespectful. But if I could just interject myself into this, what my TikTok comment would have been had I left a comment is that I think the actual problem here is less the dog joke and more so the fact that he didn't actually pack her a real lunch, you know? And I'm gonna whisper this part, all right? Do not call me a pick-me. You don't know my story, you don't know my struggle. But I don't think the joke was quite as intense as people made it out to be. Like, I really don't think this is the world's most disrespectful joke. I don't think he was trying to call her a dog. I would chuckle at that. I would giggle. However, that giggle would come with a caveat. And the caveat would be that I'm in a good mood and fed. Like, for example, if there's like a normal Tupperware lunch, some fruit, some water, granola, you know what I mean? Like a standard lunchbox lunch. And then I get to the bottom of it and it's like, oh, dog food because you're my dog, but bring it back for our actual dogs. Like, this wouldn't make me like fall to my knees laughing in tears, but like, I also wouldn't be deeply offended by it either. I think, I'll be honest, I think some people who feel like really deeply affected by this or think it's like super duper disrespectful might be doing a touch too much. I think it's more so the context surrounding the joke that kind of makes it like frustrating, you know? Because if I don't have anything to eat and I'm hungry and I get to the bottom of the bag and realize there's no food in here, but there's this stupid dog joke,
now I'm pissed.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be in a bad mood about that.
Because now I'm hangry.
You didn't take the time and effort to actually put some food in a Tupperware for me, but you took the time and energy to put the dog food in a Ziploc for this stupid joke. It's the second note saying bring the food back for the dogs that would make me giggle. It made me laugh. Sue me. Don't.
I don't have any money.
I remember I saw one person's comment saying like, if a parent had done this and I found dog food in a child's lunch, I would call CPS. And I kind of hate when people do reframings like that because yes, obviously in that situation, if you're a teacher and a student comes to school with no food, only some mostly empty snacks and a bag of dog food, yes, dude, that's signs of some real serious neglect. Of course you would call CPS in that situation, but this isn't that. Clearly, making equivalencies to situations like this where you're comparing it to something that would actually be a lot more extreme, I feel like kind of kills whatever argument you're trying to make because you're doing a straw man that's too dramatic for it to be taken seriously, you know what I mean? If you really want to make a cogent point, I think you need to stay grounded in the reality of the situation rather than making equivalencies that are so much more extreme, that are so extreme that they're literally not comparable to what we're talking about right now, you know what I mean? However, I do think a lot of people's reaction, similar to my own, was kind of like, okay, but like, where's the food? Did he pack you anything that you could actually eat for lunch that day? And it's giving that you were starved. Were you starving or were you starved? And naturally too, this sparked many conversations of people in the comments being like, hey girl, your husband hates you. And obviously from this comment alone, we can't know that, right? We can't know the dynamic and the inner workings of their relationship. Maybe she hates him too. And maybe that's an intentional dynamic that they both love and want to go for. But whether or not that's actually true, this whole scenario followed the exact same format that we usually see of the weaponized incompetence TikToks and women posting their husbands not being able to do basic tasks for them. And then when people online call out, hey, that this is weird, wives coming in hot with a defense of why their husband actually is a really good guy and having to convince us that he actually likes her, which is definitely a hallmark of a really healthy relationship where everything is fine. And if I could psychoanalyze all of us, I think what this has created is a toxic cycle that a lot of us have probably dealt with in real life that we're now getting also trapped in virtually, which is why, honestly, if you could take anything away from this video, one life lesson is when you see TikToks like this, press not interested, scroll away, because I think the emotion that this feeds into for a lot of women, at least for myself, is kind of the feeling that you get sometimes from your real life friends. Imagine this, put yourself in this situation. You have a friend who's dating a guy who the situation is just overwhelmingly toxic and she's always complaining about him to you, but she won't leave. And of course, this is your friend, so you love her and you want to support her through this, but it gets to a point where it just kind of feels like I'd rather not know. And it's like a hard feeling. It's a deeply frustrating feeling for yourself and for your friend. And, you know, it just kind of gets you trapped in this cycle of like your friend tells you something is wrong, you give them advice, they don't follow it, and then they come back to you. Sometimes deeply frustrating cycle with people that you know that you love and care about. And I think this is what's happening, except we don't actually know or love or care about these people, but it triggers that familiar emotion in us. It triggers that familiar cycle. Free us from the prison of knowing. Except on social media, it's my opinion that it's really just rage bait, but specific rage bait that women do for other women to trap us into an engagement loop with them of watching their videos, going to their profile, checking other videos, commenting, but targeting that emotion. You know what I mean? I feel like we're being emotionally manipulated by these women. We all know how rage bait works, right? The purpose of rage bait is to specifically make a type of content that is going to trigger a familiar and negative emotion in people. That's what I think this is. I truly do think it's intentional rage bait targeted at women. And then, like I said, the formula is that there is always a follow-up defending their husbands. And she was no different. I do always look for the defense videos. I'll be honest. Maybe her husband does love her and we all misunderstood, because I don't think that that's impossible. I want to maintain my journalistic integrity, which is also kind of another reason why I feel so strongly that it is intentional rage bait, because you're making the choice to share this content online and you're super aware of how this is going to be received. Like, I don't believe for a second that you are shocked by the response. I don't. She also made 2 double downs. One was like lip syncing with the dog food in shot to a rap song. And then there was the longer explanation.
It's the Lunchbox Girl.
Is Lunchbox Girl not a superhero?
Y'all are so pressed that he called me a dog. D-A-W-G. Dog as in homie. American slang for homie. It's what we call each other. It's a joke.
Now, like I said, I'm with her on this part, to be honest. I do think that some of the responses were a little over the top and trying to make up false scenarios that make the situation worse than it was. Like, come on, y'all. We've been on this app for years. We have seen so much worse. Do y'all not remember that lady who left her house for like a weekend or something, and when she came back, her whole first floor had basically become open sewage because her husband refused to like take out the garbage or do any dishes? Like, come on now. We've seen some real hateful husbands on this app. I think a little bit of dog food ain't nothing compared to the things I've seen.
We're also so pressed that he put it in my lunchbox. That's why he put it in a bag, so it didn't get on my food.
So this one, I think there's a miscommunication, because my understanding was, I think people were more so upset that the dog food was in the bag because some people found it disrespectful. Why did he put so much effort into the dog food and literally nothing else in the bag? Not that the dog food wasn't loose and that it was ziplocked up. You know, I think people were pointing out the fact that he didn't ziplock any of the chips. He just gave you the chip bags. And even the Chipotle itself wasn't like even transferred into like a Tupperware or anything. Like, the dog food was the highest effort thing in the bag. That's what people were calling out with the ziplock, not the fact that it could have been loose. The bar wasn't that low yet, but I guess now it is. So that's good.
This was at the bottom because he thought of it last and he tried to hide it under the Chipotle so that it would be a surprise.
Also, girl, if I'm doing my math correctly, anything that would be in the bottom of a lunch bag would have actually gone in there first. I don't think it was a last minute thing. It actually seems like that was the primary reason for him having packed the lunch. Lunchboxes work in a bottom up kind of a fashion.
Which it worked. Him and my sister came up with this idea together.
So that's an interesting part of the lore that came out kind of like after the fact. Her sister helped the husband come up with this prank. So we're gonna divert a little bit at this point to talk about someone else's involvement in this whole thing, and that is her sister. So just for some brief context, I guess, her sister and her nephew live with her currently. So she was home at the time when the husband was packing the lunch and coming up with this prank. And they both came together and said, LOL, this is funny, because that's just how their family is. So funny and so goofy.
So yes, I was with him midday helping him pack the lunch, and why that is because I live with them. Me and my son live with them. I was egging it on. I was like, yeah, do it, because our family is so full of humor.
People in the comments, naturally, in typical TikTok comment fashion, decided that something about what the sister said, the compliment she's paying him, is giving my sister's in love with my husband.
He even said, should I do this with the dog food? I said, absolutely. Wow, like I want that. Like, I want the humor, I want the love, and he really is one of the sweetest, nicest people to her, so romantic to her. But not only that, he's nice to everybody. Like, he'll go out of his way to help anybody no matter what.
Take that how you take that. But honestly, what I took from this as the goofball that I am is it's actually kind of insane to me that it took 2 brains to come up with this stupid ass prank. That's the big prank that the 2 of you could come up with for real. Like, oh, I was about to feed the dog and thought this would be funny. All right, I'll hear that out. But the fact that you're insinuating that they had to brain blast this prank together is worse. And honestly, I'm low-key starting to feel like I'm having a stronger reaction to that than anything else in this video. You really had to think for this? I just feel like if you're gonna marry into a goofy, fun family like the sister says, hold him to higher standards for these pranks, to be frank. We should be shaming the prank actually because it wasn't high effort enough. It wasn't a good enough prank for the effort exerted. There should have been like a small lever in there. So like when she opens the lunchbox, the dog food flies out. You know what I mean? She should have been having to pick dog food out of her hair for weeks. You know what I mean? Now it takes the whole low effort angle of it to an even higher level, because now I'm like, not only was a lunch low effort, the prank was even low effort. But getting back into Lunchbox Girls' video, like I said, I feel like whether or not you find the joke funny is actually going to boil down a lot more to your personal sense of humor than the joke itself being good or bad or inherently offensive or not. But then that still leaves the question unanswered of like, girl, so what did you eat?
Moving on, second, the Chipotle. Y'all are all really upset that it was 2-day-old Chipotle. Well, guess what? Teacher brain deceived me. It was actually a day old. It was from the night before, so not even a day old.
Is teacher brain a thing? Because my teachers always had the perfect fucking memory of everything I did.
But the Chipotle, the reason he packed that is because he wasn't planning on bringing me lunch that day. I had asked him to bring me lunch because I had forgotten, and he said, what would you like? I said, Chipotle leftovers and snacks.
And this is a part of it that I was honestly looking for. So my understanding is that the real lunch was the Chipotle, and she wanted the leftover Chipotle and snacks for lunch, and that's why he packed it for her. So she got what she asked for. I'll be honest with you, I still do feel like it's kind of weird that you wouldn't transfer the Chipotle into a normal Tupperware container for like ease of microwaving it. Snack bags, I'll be honest with you, I've done that myself. If the snacks are like beyond 75% done, I'm not gonna transfer it into a Ziploc. I'm just gonna take the original packaging, because why waste the plastic? So I think that video does seem to clear up some things that like she kind of did get what she asked for. And if she found the joke funny, I think that's fair. I feel like that's her sense of humor. That's a dynamic in their relationship. It's fine. I think the main driving force of what made everyone so annoyed was that this just fell into the weaponized incompetence talks that we've been getting force fed for so long. And also, like I said, I think it just triggered that feeling. You know, I think we saw ourselves in her, and it just kind of trapped us in a cycle that we're all too familiar with, and we got stuck. And then sometimes, even if her husband does hate her, even if her sister is in love with her husband, even if all of our worst assumptions are true, sometimes you just gotta let people live out their own canon events, you know? Based on my research for this video, honestly, what I'm gathering here is that husbands love Ziplocking anything except things that are actually supposed to go in a Ziploc bag. All the snacks seem to come in their original packaging, but dog food and Dr. Pepper was coming in Ziplocs. Why? What's the logic there? What's going on? Is it meant to be funny? Is that the prank? I can see from my analytics that I have exactly 1 male viewer, so I'm gonna ask you specifically. Hey, you in the back there, the one dude in the back, hello, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you could explain this one to us, me and the rest of the group, that would be sick, because we're confused. So if you're watching this and happen to understand the masculine urge to Ziploc anything but a normal snack, please let me know. And thank you for watching, and I appreciate you being here. So what was the point of this video, and what is the wrap up? When you're getting down on one knee to propose to your wife, she would probably much prefer it if you put the ring in a Ziploc bag. And that, my friends, is the video. Me and Totoro, who's been staring really menacingly into the camera this entire time, are grateful that you watched. If you have seen this TikTok or seen these brands of TikTok, the weaponized incompetence TikToks, I am really curious about your feelings about it. I'm also very curious about how you feel about the sister, because I feel like the sister angle has brought a lot more controversy to the whole thing. And I'm really curious how you feel about the sister. And if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.